So today we are going to discuss the evolution of our nation, how a nation is formed and what happened to us, how India got its identity. Okay, that we are going to discuss. We will start with the beginning, how this land was populated and how people came to live together and how state formation happens and what are the some elements of state formation that also we will discuss. Okay, we'll start with the beginning of India. So what was the first time when people started living in India? What is the, whatever you know you can write.
Indus Valley Civilization.
उससे पहले भी था ना इंसान, भीमबेटका में था. Okay, you know, people started living in our country in the prehistoric period. Okay, in the prehistoric period. Now there are three terms. They are called prehistory, proto-history, and history. So what is basically history? History is something of which you have some written records. Suppose there is a particular period and you have some written record, that particular thing is called history. Then what is prehistory? The period for which we have no written records are called prehistory. Okay. Then what is proto-history? Can anyone tell me what is proto-history? I have told you what is prehistory and what is history.
Something is written and something is not written.
So can you give me an example?
Examples I can't remember at this moment, sorry.
Actually, proto-history is a period where something is written, but we are not aware what it is. That script which is there, that has not been deciphered. For example, the Harappan civilization. The Harappan people, they have written something. Some symbols are there. The symbols are there, but we are not able to decipher what actually is written out there. So that particular period of time, we cannot say it is history. It will fall under history because we cannot figure out what they have written. Now, when we have this written records, then we call it history. And before the written records, people were there and it was called prehistory. That is the thing. Now come to another point. That is, in India, the skull of a human being, Homo sapien or Homo erectus, you can say. Before Homo sapiens, we had Homo erectus. Okay, that was found in the Narmada Valley at a place called Hathnara. Which is in MP. Okay, so it was the, you can say, most oldest skull of a human being which has been found in India. Okay, so now let us come to this particular thing, Neolithic Revolution. But before Neolithic Revolution, there were two more periods. They were Paleolithic Age and Mesolithic Age, and then we have called Neolithic Age. One important site, which is a Paleolithic, Mesolithic, as well as Neolithic site, is Bhimbetka. Bhimbetka is in which state? Write down. Bhimbetka is in which state? Whatever you think, if you know, write down. Bhimbetka is in MP. Bhimbetka is in MP and it is an UNESCO World Heritage Site. Okay. Now, what is Neolithic Age? Neolithic Age means New Stone Age. Now, in the New Stone Age, some revolution happened. And that particular revolution is called Neolithic Revolution. It is also called Agriculture Revolution. This term, Neolithic Revolution, was coined by a archaeologist. His name was Gordon Childe. It has been written in a book, The Wonder That Was India. Okay, and when you will read this book called Sapiens, I don't know how many of you have read that book. There also you will find the first few chapters are devoted to that only, where they have stated the biggest revolution. Forget the Industrial Revolution. The biggest revolution in humankind is the Neolithic Revolution. Before that, for 99% of period of human history, we were hunters and gatherers. When the agriculture revolution happened, then only civilization started. If that agriculture revolution would not have happened, then the civilization would not have started and nothing could have been there. No mobile phone, no television, nothing. Because the civilization could hardly exist without your Neolithic revolution. So that we are going to understand. So around 12,000 years ago, there were major changes in the climate of the world. Why? Before 12,000 years ago, the world was going through ice age. There are movies on ice age. So the whole of world was covered with ice. There were major change. The temperature of the earth rose. Okay. Now, because of that, with a shift to relatively warmer condition in many areas, basically the tropical areas, that is India, this led to development of grasslands. Different types of grass started. Okay, so different types of grass which started during that period included wheat, rice, barley. Wheat, rice, barley are what? Basically, they are grass. Okay, they are grasses. Those were domesticated by human beings. Okay, now this particular book of Sapiens, they say, he has written otherwise. He has told wheat, rice, and barley, they domesticated human beings. Now, the author is saying they domesticated human beings, and now the human beings are taking care of them. So basically, he's trying to say in the book that because the wheat and barley, they wanted to reproduce, they wanted to survive, that is why they domesticated human being in a very beautiful way, in a very, it is nature basically. Now see, for 5,000, 6,000 years, we are taking care of rice and wheat. Okay, so we can say that also. This in turn led to an increase in number of what? When the grassland will be there, then automatically the herbivores will be there. Deer, antelope, goat, sheep, and cattle. That is why the early civilization, whatever early civilization were there, you will have importance of what? Cattle. For example, in India, during the Harappan period, we had bull was a very important animal. During Vedic period, cow was a very important animal. Why? Because of that only. Now, human became herders and started living pastoral life. Because of grassland, there were more number of herbivores, they were cattle, they were domesticated by human beings, and human beings, basically who were the hunters and gatherers, they became, or they started living pastoral life. And today also, we have communities who are living pastoral life, like Gujjar and Bakarwal communities. They will have pastoral life. Okay, now humans started cultivating grass. They also started cultivating grass, and this cultivation is your agriculture revolution. They came to know when to sow a seed and when to harvest the seed, everything about the season, the seed, and domestication. So they started domesticating. Now try to look at this picture, this flow diagram. Everybody, first what happened? Neolithic revolution happened. This grass development happened. Then pastoral life happened, and then agriculture revolution happened, and you have this sedentary life. What is sedentary life? The human who was engaged on everyday basis for gathering food and water now started living in a village as a sedentary life. Okay, settled life. That agriculture also led to food surplus. When you will have food surplus, you will need to store that food. When you will need to store that food, you should have some pottery. And that is why most of the ancient civilization like Harappan civilization, you will have what? Potteries. You will have granaries. You will have potteries. Okay. Those who have studied history in some detail might be knowing there are different types of pottery belonging to different period. And then what happened? Then specialization of labor happened. Suppose there are 100 people and 20 are involved in agriculture. Then 80 people will be free. Before agriculture, what was the case? There were 100 people, all of them were doing something, were involved in hunting and gathering to survive. Now only 20 will work for food, that is agriculture, and 80 can enjoy life. Now 80 of them, what they will do? They will specialize. They will start building potteries. They will start, dealing in carts. They will start dealing, they will become blacksmith. Okay, that is called specialization of labor. When you will divide your labor, you will, nowadays we talk about fourth industrial revolution. What will happen if the fourth industrial revolution will happen? We'll start doing something else. Similarly, specialization of labor happened, which led to secondary and tertiary activities. Now tell me, agriculture is primary, secondary, or tertiary activity? Agriculture is primary, secondary, or tertiary activity? It is primary activity. It is primary activity. Now, building potteries or art and craft, whatever art and craft are there, they are example of secondary activity. And trade and commerce are example of tertiary activity. Business, export, import, okay, trade and commerce, it is tertiary activity. When secondary and tertiary activity happens, then you have civilization. For example, those of you who are living in urban areas, what is the urban area basically? What is the metro? What is the city? Most of the people out there will be involved in either secondary or tertiary activity. What is a rural area? That area where most of the people are involved in the primary activity. That is called rural area. Okay. So when you will have creation of cities, creation of urban areas, urbanization, then only you will have civilization. Okay. So you got this flow chart. Okay, this is basically the same thing is written here. Now come to this. What is the difference between civilization, culture, and heritage? So what is civilization, first of all? Civilization connotes to language, cities, okay, architecture, size of settlement, material, culture, or elements of urbanization should be there. If elements of urbanization are there, it is called civilization. Now, what is culture? Culture will include religion, art, way of life, belief system, customs, etc. Culture is the mind of society and civilization is the body. Okay. Civilization is mostly constant, but culture will keep on changing. For example, the buildings are the same. The building of Lutyens Delhi, for example, they are the same. But previously, the Englishmen used to live there. Now, the Indians are living there. The Indians' culture are totally different. The Englishman culture was totally different. Okay. Now come to heritage. What is heritage? Heritage relates to inheritance. Whatever you have got from your forefathers or whatever we have inherited from our forefathers, that can be element of culture, that can be element of customs. Okay, heritage relates to inheritance, the passing of cultural and civilizational refinements. Now the problem today is that most of the youth, they are not taught or they don't take interest in their own culture and their own heritage and their own civilization. Why it is so? Because nobody will tell you about your culture, your heritage in a way there should be. Okay. Now coming to urbanization. These cities of USA, they are, formed, the Los Angeles and the New York. Go and study on Wikipedia when they were founded. They were founded some 200 years ago. Now we have the first urbanization some 5,000 years ago during the Harappan period. During the Harappan period, we had our first urbanization. Now, the second urbanization happened during pre-Mauryan era, around 600 BC. We call it Janpad period, that we are going to discuss. Okay, during the Janpad period, we had second urbanization. Then the third urbanization, we can say, happened in early medieval India. Okay, so during the medieval history, we will have kings ruling from the center of cities, urban areas. Okay, now we are going to see some elements of Harappan civilization. First of all, discovery. So all of us, we were living here, but we had forgotten whatever was there. So although some elements of Harappan culture is out there in our culture, okay, Harappan civilization ka cultural part is out there in our culture, but most of us had forgotten. Nobody knew about it. Okay, then in 1920, what happened? Dayaram Sahni started excavation of Harappa. Basically, Alexander Cunningham, he had gone to the mound of Harappa, but he thought it was a stupa. So there are lots of stupa like that in Bihar, as where Kesaria stupa is there, Sujata stupa is there. So there will be some mound. He thought it is also a mound. But when excavation started, then they found there is a whole city. Okay, 1920, Dayaram Sahni, this I'm going to ask you. All the facts which I will be telling you will be in your questions. Okay, so Dayaram Sahni started excavation of Harappa in 1920. In 1921, R.D. Banerjee started excavation of Mohenjo-daro. Okay, they both are in Pakistan. Now, in the year 1924, John Marshall formally announced the discovery of Harappan civilization. And during 1944, Mortimer Wheeler, he also basically did appreciable job in excavation of that civilization. Now, first of all, what is the geographical extent of Harappan civilization? To the west, it is Sutka Gendor. Sutka Gendor at Pakistan-Iran border. Now, Sutka Gendor is important because it was a port. It was a port jahan pe whatever you have to export to some, Mesopotamian culture or some other culture, you will go and put there. From there, the traders will take it to Mesopotamia. Okay. Then Shortugai. Shortugai was in Afghanistan. It was the northernmost point. Alamgirpur was in east, Uttar Pradesh. And Daimabad in Maharashtra in the south. Location was in and around Sindh and Punjab province of Pakistan, from where it spread to south and east. It was bigger than Egypt and Mesopotamia combined. The region was also called Meluha. You might have heard that book, The Immortals of Meluha. So this region only was called Meluha. And some 5-6 years ago, there was a committee called Case Wildea Committee, which gave the report which said there was once upon a time a Saraswati river. Okay, so the Ghaggar Hakra channel is called the Saraswati river. It is a dried river now. So it used to flow through the Harappan civilization. The Harappan civilization was located at an area which was called Sapt Sindhu area. Why Sapt Sindhu area? Because one was Indus, the other was Saraswati, and then you had 5 rivers. Can you tell me all the 5 rivers of Punjab? The 5 rivers of Punjab, Saraswati, and then you have Indus. They were the 7 rivers. That is why they were called Sapt Sindhu. Can anybody tell me the 5 rivers of Punjab? The 5 rivers of Punjab are Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Byas, Satluj. Anybody? Byas, Satluj, Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi. Okay, fine. So these are the rivers of Punjab. That is why it is called Punjab. Now this was called Sapt Sindhu area. Now come to this. Harappan civilization, some of the features are the whole city was divided into two parts. The first part was called citadel. The second part was called lower town. Okay, so there was stratification of the society. Okay, this citadel was on a raised platform. Why? Because the area, because it was drained by 7 rivers, there might have been floods. That is why it was raised on a platform, and then you had citadel, and there you had many structures. Then the lower town was there, where humble houses were there. Okay, now this civilization was urban civilization. What is the meaning of urban? Most of the people were involved in non-primary activity, that is either secondary or tertiary. We used to have trade relations with Mesopotamia. Now tell me, what is the meaning of Mesopotamia? The meaning of Mesopotamia is between two rivers. Meso means between. Mesopotamia, between two rivers. What are the two rivers? Anybody who can tell me? Tigris and Euphrates. And nowadays, that area is called by what name? Mesopotamia is called by what name today? It is called Iraq. It is called Iraq. Okay, so the Iraq, we had some trade relation with Iraq, also with Egypt during those days, and our civilization was urban civilization. It was well planned. Unlike Mesopotamia, which was haphazard, our civilization was better planned. Okay, it had grid structure or pattern. Okay, and the town was divided into two parts, the citadel and lower town. Road crossed at 90-degree. Houses were connected to drains which had gradient slope. Okay, so that water can gush through it. Okay, and use of burnt bricks. So this was a unique feature, because in Mesopotamia, most of the bricks were baked in sun. In India, we had burnt brick, which will today also we are using the same thing. Okay, the brick locking and the burnt brick technique is used today also, and that is why you can see they were so good in bricklaying that they have laid bricks some 5,000 years ago, and today also it is there. Okay, then some of the features were great bath. Now, what was great bath? This is your great bath. This is your great bath. It is short of structure for ritualistic bathing. So do you find ritualistic bathing in India today? Tell me some examples. Tell me some examples of ritualistic bathing. Kumbh Mela, Mahakumbh. In Kumbh Mela, we go and take a dip in Ganges. Okay, so that is continuing from that day. So there are a lot of cultural elements which are continuous, which are continuing today also. Okay, we'll see some of them. Then we had granaries. So this is the example of granary. This is 6 granaries of Harappa. In Mohenjo-daro, we had one single granary, which was huge one. Okay, and the staple food out there was what? What was the staple food of Harappan civilization people? It was wheat and barley, which is out there today also. It was not rice. Rice is not cultivated in Punjab. मक्के दी रोटी खाते हैं वो लोग, मतलब जो पंजाब के लोग होते हैं, they will eat मक्के दी रोटी, सरसों का साग and wheat, रोटी खाते हैं. The rice is popular in Bengal and Andhra, these places. So rice was cultivated at a particular location in Harappa civilization. What was that location? That was Lothal. Lothal. Have you heard the name of Lothal? There rice was cultivated. Apart from that, most of the places will have wheat and rice. I don't know why, but this question will come in various examination again and again. Okay. Then it was a Bronze Age civilization. इसमें भी आपको confuse कर सकते हैं. Okay. It was a Bronze Age civilization. It also comes a lot. And here you can see it is an example of drain. See how beautiful they have, laid the bricks. And this is what citadel basically. Now come to this. Some of the cities where Harappa first had to be discovered. That is why this civilization is also called the Harappan Civilization. It is situated on the bank of river Ravi, whereas Mohenjo-daro is situated on the bank of river Indus. See, we call it Harappan Civilization, but Harappa is not on the bank of Indus. It is on the bank of Ravi. Mohenjo-daro is the largest site. It is on the bank of Indus River. Here you have great baths, great granaries. Pashupati shield has been found from here. The statue of priest king has been found from here. And then dancing girl also has been found from here. Okay. And then Lothal. Lothal, you have dockyard, evidence of rice cultivation, which I told you. Evidence of rice cultivation has been found at Lothal. Then come to Dholavira. Dholavira is in India. Lothal is also in India. So it got UNESCO World Heritage Site status. There you have water tank and signboard. This is example of signboard basically. This is your signboard. And you have fire altar. What is fire altar? Today also we perform some rituals. So it is called fire altar. It has been found at Rakhigadi, Surkotaya, and Kalibangar. Now, my question is, how many sites or how many Harappan sites in India have this UNESCO World Heritage Site status? Tell me. How many Harappan sites in India has UNESCO World Heritage Site status? Whatever you think, you can write. Think and then write. How many sites are there in India which are Harappan sites and which are also World Heritage Sites? There is only one. There is only one, and that is Dholavira, which got last year only. Now come to Vedic Age and try to understand basically. Okay, here mostly you have to understand. So this Vedic Age, as I told that first of all, we had cattle, and due to cattle, the economy was pastoral. Okay, now come to loyalty. When a group of people will live together, they will have to be loyal to something so that they could live together as a combined whole. Now, they were loyal initially to lineage. Now, what is lineage? Pitar. Today also, we worship our forefathers. So that is called our loyalty was initially towards Pitar. And then the loyalty shifted to tribe. Now, tribe in those days was called Jana. Tribe in those days was called Jana. This word Jana is very, very important. Why? Because although the people, they used to live tribal life, they were, religion, it acted as a binding force. Now, Jana basically evolved further to, from there you had the sovereign. The sovereign of a Jana, a group of tribe, was called Rajana. Rajana was the sovereign of Jana. Now, Janapada, when the roaming tribe will settle down somewhere, it will be called Janapada. Okay, and when it will become bigger, then you will have Mahajanapada. Okay, and then again I will tell you that the third term from Jana is Janatantra. What is the meaning of Janatantra? Janatantra means democracy. Janatantra means democracy. Now, so sir, what is Indus Valley Civilization? See, Indus Valley Civilization is just another name for Harappan Civilization, but official name is Harappan Civilization. Some of the books will have the name Indus Valley Civilization, but that is not official name. Okay, the football is also called soccer, that's all. Okay, now focus upon here Jana, Janapada, then Mahajanpada. Now come to legitimacy. How the king will gain legitimacy? The king will gain legitimacy from assemblies called Sabha and Samiti. They were Rigvedic assemblies. And later, the post of king will become hereditary. Okay. For that, they will have something called theory of kingship. They will devise some theory which is called theory of kingship. Now, in the Vedic age, Vedas are the source of information for this period. Now, Aryans were the group of people who migrated to India from Central Asia. Okay. Now, what are the proofs? What are the proofs that Aryans migrated to India? How many of you know Boxai inscription? How many of you know about Boxai inscription? So Boxai is a place in Turkey, Anatolia Plateau. Okay, there you have an inscription where you have names of all the Rig Vedic gods. Okay, it has been etched over stone. So all the Rig Vedic gods are there out there, like Indra, Mitra, etc. Okay, these are called Indra, Varuna, Mitra. They are called Rig Vedic gods. They have been mentioned in Turkey Boxai inscription. Now they personified nature and worshipped them. They personified nature. Nature, like Indra is for, for rain, and then Varuna is for wind, and Agni is for fire. They used to, the first sloka of Rig Veda is devoted to which god? Tell me. This is a question. The first sloka of Rig Veda is dedicated to which god? Indra, Varuna, Agni. Tell me. It is Agni. Okay, so you should be knowing something about your own country. Okay, now Indra was also called Purandar. What is the meaning of Purandar? The meaning of Purandara is basically the destroyer of the forts. Destroyer of the forts is called Purandara. So tell me now, which fort they are mentioning here? If Indra would have come to, the Aryans came to India in phases, they would have came to India, then which fort they have encountered? Tell me. The Harappan forts. The Harappan forts. Harappan civilization, whatever that civilization was, the citadel, all of that, that would have looked as a fort to them. Okay, that is why he is called Purandara. Now they wrote the 4 Vedas, and the first Veda was written in the Sub-Sindhu area. It was called Rigved. Rigved, Samved, Atharved, Yajurved. Now the Rigved, it will have a mantra called Gayatri mantra. So suppose somebody is going to ask you, Gayatri mantra has been taken from which particular text? You should be aware it has been taken from Rigved. Now Ayurved. Ayurved is a part of Atharva Ved. And Satyamev Jayate, the slogan, the motto, is taken from Mundaka Upanishad. Mundaka Upanishad. This is also important. Now another point which says that Harappan came from steppes, from Central Asia, is horse. They brought horse with them. Okay, chariot and horses. So horse is not basically found in India. Horses were found in Central Asia, and when they came, they brought horses with them. Okay, that is another proof that they migrated from Central Asia. Now come to next slide. It says discovery of India. So basically, India was not discovered. India was out there. The European were already knowing about India. As I told you, that India had trade relations with Mesopotamia. Okay, so they were already knowing that there is a land called India. Then why they are calling discovery of India? What really happened? So there was a disconnection. Why this happened, that we'll understand. So, this is called Constantinople. What area is called Constantinople today? Have you heard this term, Constantinople? Byzantine Empire, Istanbul. Okay, so Istanbul is called Constantinople, and here in the figure you can see this is a small area which connects, India, in a way, India to Europe. Okay, now this particular area was under the control of, the Arabs and Byzantine Empire, you can say. And this empire, you can say, they had something called crusades, or 100,000 years war, the religious war, okay, between Christianity and Islam. That happened. That war was happening. That is why the trade and commerce which used to happen earlier with India of Europe that was prohibited. That really didn't happen. And that is why Spain and Portugal, they were given permission to find out some new route apart from that route to India, so that we can have trade with India. Not two people, one from Spain and one from Portugal, started their journey to find India. Okay, now tell me who was from Spain. The person who was from Spain, tell me his name, and the person who was from Portugal, tell me his name. Who started their journey to find India? They were Columbus and Vasco da Gama. Vasco da Gama somehow came to India through Cape of Good Hope. So he took this channel. He first came here, and from Cape of Good Hope, he came here, and then finally came to Cochin, Calicut. Okay. And Columbus, basically, instead of India, he found America, which was a new land for the world back then. Okay, it is called New World also. It was called New World. When he founded New World, there is a movie called Apocalypse. Have you seen anybody? Have you seen that movie, Apocalypse? So in that movie, they will show the Spanish Armada that will visit Americas. Okay. When he will go there, he will find there are people out there. Now he will call those people as, Columbus will call those people as Red Indians. Red Indians. Why they were called Indians? Because of our own India. Okay. And why our country was called India? You know, way back during the times of Ashoka, or during the times of Chandragupta Maurya, there was a person who was the Greek ambassador in the court of Chandragupta Maurya. He wrote a commentary over India. It was called Indica. It was called Indica. So this name India is basically from Indus River. The Indus River was called Sindhu by us. It is called Sindhu River. Now the Arabs used to call it Hindu. That is why they call it Hindustan. Hindustan. And now the Europeans, they could not pronounce H word. So they called this Hindu को Hindu बना दिया. Hindu से Indica हो गया. S से H बना तो Sindhu, Hindustan. And then Hindustan became Indica. And then Indica became India. That is the way. Okay. And now those people were called Red Indians by Columbus. And when that place was called West Indies. West Indies. And can you tell me which country was called East Indies? Which country was called East Indies? See, we are India. The west of India is called West Indies. And the east of India will be called, East Indies. What is east of India? East of India, we have Indonesia. We have Indonesia. Okay. Indonesia was called East Indies, whereas West Indies is Caribbean. Okay. So that was the thing. Now come to foreign travelers in India. During the ancient times, Meluha had contacts with Mesopotamia and Egypt. Alexander, or Greek contacts. Megasthenes wrote a record called Indica during the times of Chandragupta Maurya. Trade with Roman Empire flourished during Sangam period also. There in the Sangam poetry, which is the poetry written in Tamil Nadu, you have mention of Puhar, Kaveri Patinam, and trade with Roman Empire. So we had trade and commerce relation with Europe back then. Okay. Now there is also another account, Peri Plus of Etherian Sea, which was written by some unknown sailor. He also mentions some of the ports like Supatma and everything, Barigaza and Puhar, in his book called Peri Plus of Etherian Sea. Etherian Sea is basically Arabian Sea plus, Gulf of Hormuz and everything. So that is Etherian Sea. Now come to Indology. So when the Britishers, they came to India, they looked India in their own ways. So I told you that the Portuguese, Vasco da Gama, he discovered India After that, the European came, and then the early, the Indologists, they started knowing, taking interest in the history of India. Because if you want to rule a country, you should first know the country. For knowing the country, you should be aware about the history of country. So he took some interest in Indian culture and Indian language, and he actually learned Sanskrit to study that. So he said the Sanskrit language, whatever be its antiquity, is of wonderful structure, more perfect than Greek, more copious than Latin, and refined than either. Now, what is the meaning of it? See, in Sanskrit language, whatever be the jumbling of, you might have solved jumbled sentences in your childhood. Have you solved jumbled sentences in your childhood? So that you might have, like, I am eating mango. Mango, eat I am. It will make no sense. Suppose you will jumble up the sentences of English, it will make no sense at the time. But in Sanskrit, whatever will be the jumbling, it will make the same sense. It will make the same sense. It will have the same sense. Okay? Whatever be the jumbling. For example, aham phalam khadati. Khadati aham phalam. Okay, phalam aham khadati. All the three sentences will have same form. So that is why he is saying it is wonderfully structured, more perfect than Greek, more copious than Latin, and more exquisitely refined than either. But what we have this inferiority complex. We consider that our language is not so great, and we are living in cultural imperialistic world, and that is why we have this inferiority complex. Okay, that is a different thing. Now, Jones was a philologist who studied different language, who studied ancient languages like Greek, Latin, and Sanskrit. He founded the Asiatic Society of Bengal in 1784. This question was there in TISSNET, I think 5 years ago. Okay, when it was founded, the Asiatic Society of Bengal was founded in the year 1784. Okay, some early Sanskrit were translated into English, where a code of Gentoo laws, which was a translation of Manusmriti by N.P. Halhed, then Kalidasa Shakuntala or Shakuntalam by William Jones himself, and then Bhagavad Gita by Charles Wilkins. Okay, Charles Wilkins. Now let me tell you what William Jones observed. This is the final proof that we came from Central Asia. Okay. William Jones is known today for making observation about relationship between the Indo-European language. In 1786, he suggested that Sanskrit, Greek, Latin language had a common root. Jones established the Asiatic Society of Bengal in 1784. Okay, now tell me, have you heard this Doha of Kabir? Nindak niyare rakhiye, Angan Kutter Chawai. Have you heard any one of you? It is a Hindi Doha of Kabir. It says Nindak niyare rakhiye. You have heard one person, 2, 3. Okay, so you have heard. What is the meaning? So Kabir basically was a 14 something, 1400 something. He lived there. Okay, during that time we had very little or no contact with the Western world. Okay, now tell me, what is the meaning of near in the sloka? Nindak niyare rakhiye. What is the meaning of near in the sloka, in the Doha? It is Doha basically. Close. Nindak niyare rakhiye, close. Now, near is a word in English also. Near is a word in English also. What is the meaning of near in English? Close. The meaning of word in English is also close, and the meaning of word in a local dialect of that area, our area, is also close. Okay, but yeah, so that is the meaning. So what I'm trying to say, they both had similar roots. Let me tell you another example. What comes, what you call TWO2 in your local language? Local language may be Bengali, or maybe your Awadhi, or maybe your whatever language you speak. What do you call? TDO you call. In Bengali, what do you call? TWO2. What do you call TWO2 in Bengali? Dui. You call Dui. Then Do. Okay. So that is the word you use. Now, Dui is basically what? Here you can see two in English. Old English Twa. Latin Duo. And Sanskrit Dwa. Dwa ban gaya Dui, ban gaya Do. And here you have Duo. You will speak in Hindi. The Duo are great. In tennis, they will have Duo. They have defeated. The Duo defeated them. Okay. So here you can see the relationship. Two, Dwa. Now come to three. Come to three. Shiva is also called this Netra. Trinetra. He is called Trinetra. Now, what is the meaning of three? How you will, three is basically three. Three जो होता है ना, 1 2 के बाद क्या आता है? 3 आता है. You will have 3 and 3 netra. So 3 netra and 3 netra are basically the same thing. Are you getting that? So they have same similar root or not? Yes or no? Tell me 3 trias, trace. And then another example. 8 asta octa October. Okay, या जो भी होता है. तो ये देखो 9 नवा नवम. Snake, sarpa, serpent. In English, we have a word called serpent. What is the meaning of serpent? The meaning of serpent is snake. The meaning of serpent is snake. That is a word taken, which has common root. So here we can see that both the language has a common root. They are called Indo-European language. Okay, we had a common root, and that basically refined in our Sanskrit. Sanskrit was refined by Panini and by, various people. And Panini was one of them who gave it a structure. Now, English is a common language, but it has no structure. What is PUT? Anybody can pronounce what is PUT? How you will pronounce PUT? You will pronounce PUT as put.
Put.
Okay. What is BUT?
But.
But why not but? So there is no logic. There is no logic in English. Okay. What is CUT? Why not cut? Why cut? So there is no logic. So structure is not there, science is not there. But in our version of Sanskrit, which had a common root with them, we have refined that language further to make Sanskrit which is better structured. But still we have this inferiority complex. Why we have? Because we were slaves for 200 years. We were slaves for 200 years. That is why it is there. The inferiority complex. Okay, it should not be there. Now come to another example. Mother, matter, matri, nose, nasa. है ना? उसके बाद देखो mouse, musa. So sir, English is the oldest language. English is not oldest language, yaar. I am telling there was one oldest language which was common to us and the Europeans. It had a common root. And then what happened? We used to live near steppes or Central India, Central Asia. And then what happened? We separated. Some of them moved northward to Europe, and some of us moved southward to, or westward to, or eastward to, India. And when we came here, we refined our language. We refined our language and gave the language a structure and made it better. And the language was called Sanskrit. Okay. And English has roots from Latin and Greek, which are somewhat crude language. They are not that well structured. Now the English was called the Queen's language. You have to remember English because it was a Queen's language, no matter what the rule is. Now, when I will teach you English, then I will tell you how many complex rules are there. I don't know why there are so many complex rules. You can use this word here, not there. There are so many rules out there, but those many rules are not there in Sanskrit. Sanskrit is better structured, but still we don't value Sanskrit. Now come to James Prinsep. He also did a great work by deciphering two languages or two scripts, which were the Brahmi script and Kharosthi script. Now they were the script in which Ashokan edicts were written. So who first deciphered the edicts or inscription of Emperor Ashoka? This was the question in TISSNET, I think 2 years ago. The answer will be James Prinsep. James Prinsep deciphered Brahmi and Kharosthi script in the year 1836-38. And another name which is important is Alexander Cunningham. He founded the Archaeological Survey of India in 1861, excavated Sachi Stupa and also Nalanda. Okay, and this is a sample of your inscription of Ashoka. Now try to understand. From here, we will try to understand what is the purpose of state. So this we had seen, Neolithic Revolution happened, sedentary life, food surplus, then pottery, and then specialization, secondary, and civilization. Okay. Now, according to Thomas Hobbes, he says, state of nature is a war of every man against every man. In nature, the animals are living there in nature. Okay. So what will happen? It is a war of every man against every man. So suppose you have some food. I don't have a food, nothing to eat. Actually, I have nothing to eat. So I will snatch your food. I will eat your food as mine. So it is a struggle for survival. It is a war of every man against every man. The life of man is solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. In this dismal picture of state of nature, there can be no morality, justice, industry, and civilization. He says that. And that is why we need something called state. Now, why we need a state? We need a state for security and defense. So from ancient time, we have something called a state to, protect us. We have, a group of people, we have lived together and we have given the collective power to somebody to rule on our behalf so that they can protect us. For example, it was the duty of the Rajas or the Rajans to protect security and defense, law and order, stability, economic, provision of essential services. That is the basic, duty of a state. Then I told you this, that in the Vedic Age, early Vedic Age, the loyalty was towards Kula or Pitar. Then the loyalty shifted to Jana. The loyalty was towards tribe. Okay, and then in Janapada period, the loyalty shifted to territory. And in the Mahajanapada period, element of state will evolve. And then the loyalty will shift towards, toward the state. So, have you studied something out? Do you know something about French Revolution? So what happened during French Revolution? The loyalty was towards the kings and queens, to the dynasty. In India also, when kings and queens were ruling the country, like Akbar was ruling the country, or Maharana Pratap was ruling the country, or Prithviraj Chauhan was ruling the country, then there was no concept of India. There was no concept of India. Everybody was loyal to whom? The king. Everybody was loyal to king. They used to fight the battle and the war for king. Their loyalty was towards the king. Similarly, in case of French Revolution, the loyalty was towards whom? Towards the queens, towards the kings, towards the dynasty. Now, after French Revolution, something happened that we are going to discuss. After French Revolution is a biggest event in the history of humankind. it shifted the divine theory of kingship to popular sovereignty. People's loyalty shifted towards territory, towards the land, towards the state. So the concept of India that became apparent to certain degree during our national movement, when the feeling of nationalism first developed, when the spirit of Bharat Mata came, Vande Mataram came. Before Vande Mataram, there was no, although there was land, there were people ruling the land, but the loyalty was divided, and the loyalty was towards a particular person, not towards a country. Okay, so that will happen. I will tell you how it will happen. So the state, the element of state will evolve for the first time during the modern period. Now they have a standing army, which is today also we have standing army, Indian army. They have evolved bureaucracy. Today also we have. They had legal justice system, taxation. They had diplomacy. They had and proto constitution. What to do, what not to do was written out there. Today also we have this thing. Now this is the expansion of modern empire. It started with a very small area and then it is expanded. That is the thing. Now try to understand. This was a question which came in the UPSC. So don't think that I am just teaching you random facts. I am teaching you something which, if you will understand, I'm telling you this, you can qualify n number of examination, not only tests. Okay. So a state has these 4 elements. Last year, it was a question indirectly in UPSC, and I taught before the examination. So the first element it will have is population. The second element it will have is territory. We have population, we have territory. The third element it will have is sovereignty. That is, no external control or power should be there. And the fourth element it will have is government. Okay. If you will have these elements, then you can say you are a state, independent state. Before 1947, we had people, we have land, but we didn't have sovereignty. We had government also. Who was the sovereign power? The queen was the sovereign power. That is why India was not considered an independent state. Now it is independent state. So these are very important points. Now come to this theory of kingship, divine origin. So initially, since ages, thousands of years, across the world, the rule which was out there was monarchy, in which a certain, all the power to rule a particular land was given to a king, and there was dynasty. Only his son can become the king. Okay, only few individuals were given the right to rule over all the individuals, and nobody had problem. Why? Because they devised a method to legitimize it. So before French Revolution, religion played a big role in everybody's life. Okay, and through religion they used to legitimize. They used to say that Bhagwan se hamara connection hai. There is special bonding with God. That is why we are ruling you. God has told us, has permitted us to rule you. That is why we are ruling. That is why you cannot become a king. I can become a king. So, for example, Ashoka, he used to call himself Devanam Piyadasi. That is one who is dear to God. Kanishka used to call himself Devaputra. I am the son of God. Now Jesus is called son of God. Here Kanishka is calling I am the son of God. Then Gupta rulers, they used Vishnu and Lakshmi and Garuda symbol to legitimize their power. Today, during Diwali, we will do Lakshmi Puja. Why? All of that started from that era. Then Balban will come. Balban will call himself Jile Ilahi, or shadow of God. Jile Ilahi means shadow of God. So I do whatever God tells me to do. Akbar will say that I will rule by divine light. Farje Ijadi. Religion was used to legitimize rule over subject. Okay. which were considered properties. Now let us understand the evolution of modern ideas upon which modern states are based. For that, we need to know a bit about developments in Europe. Okay, so Renaissance, humanism, age of reason, enlightenment, philosophical thought, revolution, modern ideas, scientific discoveries, world war, and change of hegemony. The march toward modern world that we are going to see tomorrow. Tomorrow we will see how there will be a shift. There will be a shift from divinity towards humanism. Humanism means the focus will become human being. When the focus will become human being, not divinity, then the people who were taking legitimacy from God will be thrown away. And the people or the persons who will take legitimacy from people, they will be given permission to rule. Today, our Prime Minister has the permission of God or permission of people? Tell me. Our Prime Minister has permission of people to rule over us or to govern. Okay, that is why he is governing. He has not taken permission from God, or he is not legitimizing his rule or his governance through divinity. If you have any confusion, any doubt, you can ask. यहाँ तक जो भी confusion है पूछो, उसके बाद next we are going to see what happened, everything, how humanism came into being and everything. That will happen tomorrow. If you have any confusion, then ask me right now.
So what did you say? What is hegemony or whatever it is?
Sir, what is the
First, yeah, Agal was saying something. Yeah.
Yes, so I was asking, what did you say about hegemony, or I don't know what it is pronounced.
Hegemony, this word, this I will explain tomorrow.
Yes.
So see, hegemony throughout the world was under some kings and queens before the French Revolution, and then something will happen that will change the dominance. The hegemony means political dominance. So that I am going to anyhow discuss tomorrow. So don't worry. Yeah.
Sir, what is the name of the inscription that was found in Turkey which mentions the god of
Bogzai inscription.
Sir,
Bogzai
so
inscription.
can you
So
tell me the name?
I will write the name in the group. Okay, fine.
Yes, sir.
Okay, hegemony means supreme power, kind of. Yeah. Then, sir, will you provide notes of? Yes, I will provide notes of all this, but just I'm making the platform secure, because last year what happened, a lot of people were sharing that platform. So I will provide each and everything. Don't worry. Okay, I'm stopping the recording now. You can ask question if